Hi, and welcome to the very first show of the Cafecito Travel Talks, a podcast for travelers to share travel stories and adventures. My name is Tony Lloyd, and I'm going to be your host. Each show, I will sit down with travelers from different walks of life and talk about their journeys. Who are they? Where are they from? What means of transportation do they use in? And when and why did they decide to make this move? And most importantly, how are they doing it? This is actually a project that has been quite a while in the making and for different reasons have not launched before. Right now, it seems like the most unusual time to be launching a travel podcast with the coronavirus sweeping the entire world, making it impossible to travel. However, I hope that you are tucked away somewhere safely and that this could be another form of distraction for you, in which for the people who have not yet started traveling, maybe this will be what you need to help you, give you some information about how others are doing it. And for the people who are seasoned travelers, maybe it'll just help bring back some of those memories that you had while on the road yourself, and then encourage you to come out on the road as soon as possible. And for everyone, when things are back to normal and you find yourself in Ecuador, we invite you to come and take a look at the El Cafecito Hostel in Cuenca, Ecuador, and also our restaurant on the same plaza with vegan and vegetarian options. We have several shows already pre-recorded for you, which we'll be releasing on a weekly basis, a minimum of one per week. And also, I would like you to check out our Facebook site where we have quite a few travel stories which are written by travelers, either about themselves or about others. And if you're someone who likes to write and have some stories of your own, please let us know. Please send us, you're more than welcome to submit stories in. And we look forward to all your questions and comments that you might have about the podcast or the Facebook page. You could send those in to elcafecitotraveltalks at gmail.com. All your comments are welcome. Since we are a grassroots productions, we're looking for all different suggestions to help us grow. For the first show, I have a teacher who decides to leave her classroom behind to go and discover the world and some new things about herself. So please enjoy. Before we start by introducing today's guest, I'd like you to join us by having a cup of coffee, a tea, or the beverage of your choice. I have sitting in front of me a lovely young lady, and I'd like her to introduce herself to you and the audience.
Hi, I'm Kay. I'm 37 and I'm from England. I live in Manchester.
Mancunian?
Yeah. Well, originally from Yorkshire, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So, Kay, explain to us a little bit about what you were doing before you decided to travel.
Okay, so I've been a teacher for roughly 6 years. A couple of years back, I was having a really bad time, wasn't enjoying my job, gone from one difficult situation to another, and just after a conversation with my sister, decided that was it, quit and travel. So at that point, I travelled for 1 year, and now I'm back 2 years later to kind of finish what I started. I guess.
Okay, no, I like that. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, so you decided, okay, I'm not happy where I am right now at this moment. Mm-hmm. So what were the things, like if you could share with us a little bit about when you say you weren't happy, what were some of the things that you were thinking about? Like is it the type of work you were doing? Was it something more personal, internal? Could you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, so I didn't qualify as a teacher until I was 30. And then I wasn't living in Manchester at the time. I moved to Manchester and did substitute teaching. Absolutely loved it. Did kind of long placements, short placements, and then at the time I was doing maternity cover for somebody, and that contract was due to end in June, so a little before the summer holidays. I was just having a really tough time, working long hours, not so much support in the school, and I just wasn't happy. Like the teaching part I love, the kids I love, but just wasn't happy. And it was the Easter holidays. My sister called me and she said, "Look, if you really don't like it," she said, "you've got the money. You don't always have the time, so just go." And she's 10 years older, so I kind of trust her advice on things. Yeah.
And so, why travel? Maybe you could have stayed at home and maybe looked at it for a different career. Maybe you could have stayed at home and decided to settle down and started having babies, becoming a housewife. Why travel? What was it about travel?
I guess just that break from the norm. Like, it's I guess kind of expected. It's that cultural thing. You get married, you settle down, you have the house, the kids. My sister hadn't travelled long term. Her sister-in-law was doing it at the time. She said, "Look, just go and meet her, do it. Like, get out there and see something before settling down and having the kids and all the rest of it." So that's why.
And so then you decided to make the move. Explain to us a little bit about, obviously it wasn't just like, okay, boom, click,
it kind of was,
and here I'm there and I'm on the road. What were some of your preparations? What were some of your physical and mental preparations?
So I'd never travelled before by myself. So it's like I never had a bucket list of places I wanted to see, where I wanted to go. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do it. An hour on the phone with my sister, I'm going to do it. But yeah, where do you start? So I went into a couple of travel agents, kind of started asking questions, getting an idea of costs for flights. I'd previously been to Thailand, so I was like, okay, I'd quite like to go back there. So that was a starting point. I spoke to friends who travelled, and I had a fellow colleague of mine. She'd also quit teaching the year before, and she'd been to India. She'd done a tour in India and really recommended it. So that was a starting point for me. And it just kind of went from there, speaking with people, where have you been, and suggestions from people. So went back to the travel agent and said, these are my ideas. Could you maybe help plan a route for me? Like, I'm not sure where to start, where to finish. Obviously, India was maybe first point of call to do a tour there, an organised tour. And just speaking with the travel agent came up with a plan. So it's a fairly open plan. So India, and then decided to go to China, and Vietnam, and then it was open between Vietnam and Singapore. So I had a few months. I decided I wanted to spend more time in Asia. I thought like the landscapes and everything, the culture may be better there. And then a few weeks in Australia to visit my brother, and then the final flight was to South America.
So basically, in summary, once you decided, you started. I think the key thing I got out of what you just said was you started speaking to people, talking to people who had traveled, talking with travel agencies to help you sort of get an idea of where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
What were some of the other side, which usually happens to a lot of us, not to a lot of us, to all of us. We all have to admit it at some point.
For me, it was kind of easy. And people say, you're so brave doing this, and aren't you scared? It would have been harder for me to stay. I was in such a bad place mentally with everything I was going through with work, that actually to leave was an easy escape. So I didn't have the nerves, I was just full of excitement, like completely. There was not one little nervous part for me, luckily, and I think that's quite rare, but I was just excited to go and do this. So.
And there was nothing like, oh my gosh, I'm going to India, what's going to happen? Am I going to get sick?
No, I was literally like, I cannot wait to do this. I was just so excited. That's very family members, friends that were like, what are you doing? My mum, when I told her, her reaction was interesting. She's like, what? But she'd also been a teacher, and I just kind of had the conversation that, look, you know how hard this is, and it's something I need to do. And eventually she came around to it, and we said, look, like, there's WhatsApp, there's FaceTime, there's ways to stay in contact, and eventually she was supportive. But it was difficult. The most difficult thing for me was leaving like my grandma, who was very old at the time, and my nieces, who were very young at the time, because they're key ages, obviously, that you want to be able to see people. But other than that, the excitement.
And was there anyone that was saying to you, no, but if you quit now, you're not gonna get a job when you come back? Was any of that sort of thing?
No, because at that point in time, I didn't want to ever teach again. And because I'd done things before teaching, I was like, I'll find a job. Like, there's always jobs. Even if you're working in a supermarket or a shop, it doesn't have to be a big career move. There's work to be had if you're open to it, I guess. So.
Okay. And so, as you said, your first part of your adventure was in the Far East.
Mm-hmm.
And so, tell us about that. Tell us about how you prepared to get on the plane. What was your first impressions on?
The impressions, well, packing was interesting.
Okay.
But there's heaps of stuff online. So I watched YouTube videos and Facebook's a good one for information. So the packing took a while because I'd never backpacked before.
Okay.
But just narrowed things
And
down.
what to decide your apartment, your house, how am I going to get everything in this one bag?
Everything went back to my mum's.
Okay.
My mum. Again, she keeps thinking she's got rid of me, and I keep bouncing back there. But going to India, obviously, and Asia, they thought you need something to cover your shoulders, you need things past your knees, all of those, because to go in the temples, you just have to be aware of those things. Things that to keep you cool, because obviously it's a lot hotter. But India was interesting. The scariest thing was arriving by myself because the tour didn't start the day that I arrived. I had a couple of days, but arriving in India, I remember just being in the taxi with a huge smile on my face, like, I've done it, I'm here, just feeling really proud, I guess.
Okay.
But also seeing straight away all those crazy things you expect to see in India, like the cows in the road and the trucks with hundreds of people hanging out, and then, getting to the hostel, and that first afternoon, you really had to find the courage to leave your room. And I remember having to have a little word with myself, like, you're here, you need to get out there. And when I did, I met someone instantly in the lobby, and I just spoke to her. She was speaking English, and I said, oh, how are you going on that tour? Can I hop on with you, kind of thing? I'm still friends with her now. 3 years later, I've been to visit her in Sweden. She's been over to England to visit me. So I guess that just taught me, speak to people. Like, don't be scared. Just, you got to get out there and talk. Like, don't be scared of it.
Okay. Actually, another thing I just wanted to, before we go further, I just wanted to point out again what you said about when you were getting ready to pack for India, about understanding where you're going, your destination, and understanding that sometimes there are certain clothes requirements, and if you want to be culturally sensitive to the area that you're going to. And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people don't realize that, or sometimes, I'm ashamed to say that a lot of us as travelers, sometimes we really don't put enough consideration into that. And I'm glad that was a key thing that you mentioned right now.
You can really insult people if you don't. And I've seen people through Asia, and they'll turn up to a temple and they haven't got shoulders covered or something. And to those cultures, it's just really insulting. Like, you have to be sensitive to it. You have to be aware. You have to ask these questions when you arrive somewhere. And
I totally 100% agree. The other thing that you just said a few minutes ago, and I didn't want it to just get washed by really quickly, was about, yes, there is that moment when you're in the hostel or you're in the hotel, wherever you are, and you're by yourself, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do?
Yeah, exactly.
And the only way to get past that is just to walk up and say hello to somebody.
Yeah.
And just to realize that the other people are in that same situation that you're in, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And it's so great that you said that 3 years later, you guys are still good friends, you're still in communication, because that's what it's really about.
And it gets easier.
Like,
the more you do it, now it's not a problem. People can't shut me up. Like, leave me alone.
Okay. And so am I understanding correctly when you were saying that you still believe that you made the right choice?
Oh gosh, yeah, for sure. My regret is going home.
Your regret is going home.
I should have just stayed out here and continued. No regrets with spending that house deposit. Just do it. Okay. Don't think about it, just go.
Hence why you're on your second trip now.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Some of the times that were not so great. Like, what were some of the things where, we have to mention it because
Yeah.
we're people and we're traveling,
Yeah.
and there are certain moments where we're just maybe just not feeling good, not feeling down. You're feeling like so.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit,
Yeah.
one or two of those.
Probably the most difficult was a couple of months into my travel, my grandma passed away. And at the time I was alone. Well, when I say alone, you're never really alone when you're traveling. There's always people around, but you obviously feel alone because you're away from your family. At the time, my phone had been stolen. I'd had my bag snatched. So communication was really difficult with home. But there were people around to support me. And at the time, I just told myself, like, I wanted to go home. And I knew that my travel insurance would allow me to do that. But my mum was saying, look, keep going. And I had to keep saying, my grandma loved to travel. And she was so proud that I was doing it. And I just kept telling myself that. And eventually, you meet people and you let them know your situation, and they're just so supportive. There was a girl, Candice from South Africa, who I was travelling a little with at the time. And I met back up with her, and the day of my grandma's funeral, we went out, we had dinner, I had a couple of drinks. So there's people around to help in those situations. I had my phone stolen in China.
Okay.
Lost heaps of photographs, like all my Taj Mahal pictures. And I cried. I did a lot of crying, but there were people there to give me hugs and look after me. Like I mentioned, my bag got snatched in Vietnam. I think that was my bad luck over after that. Okay. Touch wood, like it got easier. But you realise through it all, if you've got your bank card, your passport, and some form of communication, you get through it all. Then you can continue travelling. So
that part about the people, the community.
Yeah,
okay, let's talk a little bit about that. Like, explain give us, like, for somebody who might be listening that don't understand that part about the community.
Yeah.
Okay, give us a little bit of an explanation of what that feels like to join this community of travelers.
Everybody's in the same boat. You might meet, there are a lot of solo travelers out there, and groups and couples and people of all ages, from like just finished school to like right through to 6-year-old plus. Like, there's all different experiences out there, and it's just reaching out to people. And as soon as you said hello, you make some of the best bonds of your life through traveling. Some of my best friends now are not people I've grown up with, they're people that I've traveled with, because you're going through tough times together, you're going through fun times together, and I guess you're alone. You're all out here alone, and you need to make that communication, strong communication.
So it's like basically you're completely out of your comfort zone. So you now have to recreate yourself.
Yeah.
And with these people that you're traveling with, you're recreating together.
Yeah.
And so you create these bonds.
Yeah. But also the time you spend together, you're eating together. I just joked with somebody a couple of days ago. I turned up to a hostel and we spoke for like 5 minutes. He's like, do you want to get dinner? So we went for dinner, and then we went out that evening and we were talking, and I said, how often? Like, he was a guy. I said, how often would you speak to a girl for 5 minutes and then kind of say, shall we go for dinner? Like, it doesn't happen, but I guess friendships happen much quicker when you're away because you're eating together, you maybe sharing a dorm together, you're going out sightseeing together. Everything happens much faster, and I guess that creates a stronger bond in a sense in a much shorter period of time, because you don't get that time with friends back home because you're working and you're busy with family.
And sharing a dorm, like sometimes people say, okay, now you're over 30 years old, what are you doing in a dorm? Like, explain to people why a dorm, like, it's...
Okay, I actually choose larger dorms because I think it allows you more opportunity to maybe meet someone you get along with. If I was to take a single room myself, I don't think you're meeting people as easy. Yeah, there's the common areas, but in a dorm you've got that instant, oh hi, have you just arrived? Me too. That kind of shared experience with people. And again, the larger dorm, you might not get on with somebody in a 4-bed dorm, but if you're in an 8-bed dorm, it's doubling your chances.
Exactly.
So
increase your possibilities.
That's the way I look at it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And again, talking to somebody, because the whole purpose of this podcast is talking to the people who are not traveling, who don't understand, and who are still a little bit on the edge. My gosh, my privacy, how do you do it? How do you go into a dorm and then you're a weird guy, a girl,
I found it really, really difficult to begin with. And thinking back to Vietnam, I was in a dorm, and a mixed dorm. So you think mixed dorm, there's definitely going to be girls, there's definitely going to be guys, it's going to be fine. I ended up in a room with just guys and me. It was not even 2 months maybe into my travels, and I actually complained. Like I said to the hostel owner, like, look, it's supposed to be a mixed dorm, I'm only with guys, and he kind of said, in that case, choose a female-only dorm. They didn't have so many of those in Vietnam, so that was an issue. But that was really difficult, especially when one of the guys just wanted to shower with the door open and walk around in his underwear. And yeah, it was tricky. But again, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. Those guys were fine. Like we went out for a drink together in the end and like had some conversation. And I guess it comes back to that, the communication. Speak to people. Like it's, once you speak, you realise these aren't crazy people that are going to do anything dodgy when you're in there with them. Like they're just fellow travellers. And you speak to them, you get a bit of a history, and you make new friends.
I actually had a female once who said to me that she preferred to be in a dorm with more men because she feels that they're like their older brothers and they're more protective. And she said that when she was in a dorm with females, she didn't feel that same protection. And she felt a lot safer being in a dorm with men versus being in an all-female dorm. I don't know if that relates to you or you understand what that statement means.
Yeah, a little, but I guess when you start travelling, I found it more comforting to have females around, but I also found that I couldn't be in a female-only dorm because that's just way too many hormones and issues going on there. Like, you need a little bit of a mixture.
I like that.
It's a little crazy.
Okay. And at this point, explain to us a little bit, maybe I should have probably asked that question earlier. Where are you in your travel? Like, where are you? You've done the 2 years before, you said, right?
So I travelled from 2015 to 2016. I did a full year. So I did 8 months kind of Asia and then 4 months in South America. And I ended my travels in the north of Colombia. Ideally, I wanted to see more of Colombia and also get to Ecuador. And I didn't do that. So I arrived home and it just felt like unfinished business. Like the itchy feet, it's like I haven't finished what I started. So I've been home. I ended up going back into teaching. Didn't want to, but I went back to substitute teaching, found a great school. I've now been there a year and they've managed to keep me and get me on a permanent contract. It's the first time I've agreed to that. Saved up some money and come back to see more of Colombia and also Ecuador and Galapagos as well. So I'm currently a week in. Been to a couple of stops in Bogota in Colombia for just a night as a layover, and then a few stops in Ecuador.
Let's talk about maybe 1 or 2 things that you have learned through traveling. I know you've touched on it, a few things, like, for example, communicating with people and so forth. But is there 2 or 3 other things that you'd like to share with us?
Be open-minded, for sure. You have to be aware of the culture that you're in, but also that want to find out more. So I found I'd traveled for maybe 7 months, and I was in Australia and I found out about the free walking tour. And I never knew about that. And then after that, everywhere I got to, that was my starting point. So when I arrived in South America, for example, I took the free walking tour because it gave me a chance to find out a little more about the city that I was in, the history, the people, and that gave me then, okay, I want to go back to that place and find out more. Maybe I want to go to that museum, or I want to find out about the people who live here, or go out to that place later in the evening. So I found that was a really good starting point for me. And I still tend to do that now because it just gives you a little history if you don't already know it.
Somebody is out there listening to us, hopefully. No, we have a lot of people listening to us. And they're sitting there and they're saying, she's brave. She could do it, but I can't do it. What would you like to say to that person?
You can do it. When I left home, as I said, for me, I was just so excited. I wasn't nervous. And after a while, I was getting all these messages from people. Like, I put a post on Facebook about what I was up to and things, and people saying, you're so brave, like, and I was like, I'm not, I'm just out here doing this. And towards the end of my travels, I guess I kind of looked back at what I'd done and I was like, wow, that's an achievement. And I guess it kind of is brave. But when you're here doing it, you realise it's so easy. Like my mum says all the time, like I was planning this trip and she's saying, well, how do you book a bus? Well, the same as you do in the UK. You just go to the bus station or you get somebody to call for you or you find those ways and you realise when you're away, it really is as easy as at home. You just need, maybe if you don't speak the language, you ask somebody to help you. Like I found a lot of fellow travellers. I didn't speak Spanish when I arrived in South America. I still don't speak Spanish particularly. I understand a few words and I can get by, but there's always someone to help. In China, definitely obviously don't speak Chinese, but I got people to write down in Chinese and then I take it to the bus station. So it's easier than you think.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. It was really a pleasure talking to you. I like the way you express and the flow, and if people could see us, they could see your hands going all over the place, and the wonderful smile you have on your face, because you obviously are excited about what you're doing. And thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said at the start of the show, we're still starting out. This is our grassroots projects. So if there's any comments or suggestions that you have on our show, please send them in. Please, please, please. You could email us or to your comments to elcafecitotraveltalks@gmail.com. Please tune in to see when our next shows are going to be. I'd like to also invite you to take a look at the Facebook page with the stories, and please tell a friend, let anyone you know that likes to travel or are interested in the whole idea of travel, and maybe to help them distract their minds for the next few days. Also, stay tuned to see when our next shows are coming up. I'd like to give a special shout out to our editor, Marshall Donnelly, and I want you to please stay safe. I know that we're going through a very difficult time around the world and it's making it impossible to travel, but this will all clear up soon and we'll be back on the road. And when you are back on the road, and I welcome you very much to the El Cafecito here in Cuenca, or to our sister location in Quito, Ecuador. All the best for now. Take care. Be safe.